They were already lowering the coffin when I heard myself say it. I didn't plan it. I didn't rehearse it. The words just came out of me, shaking sharp, impossible to pull back. He's not dead. And the second my voice cut through that cemetery, I knew my life had split cleanly into before and after. People stared like I'd lost my mind. Cameras froze. Someone laughed, actually laughed, like grief had finally produced a joke worth hearing. Security took one step toward me, then another, and all I could think was, of course, this is how it happens. Not in a courtroom, not in some heroic moment, but in public, messy, irreversible. Let me rewind, because none of this started at a funeral. It started years earlier when I learned how easy it is for people to forget you exist. I used to work as a live-in housekeeper for a man named Victor Hale. Different world, different zip code. The kind of place where the floors shine so much you're afraid to breathe wrong. I slept in a narrow room off the laundry corridor, no window, one bulb, one outlet. You don't complain about things like that when you need the job. You learn to fold yourself smaller, quieter, grateful. Most days I wasn't spoken to. I was gestured at. That goes there, not like that. Move. You know the tone. Not angry, not cruel enough to protest, just dismissive enough to remind you where you rank. His wife Eleanor perfected that tone. She smiled when guests were around, sharp as glass when they weren't. People like you shouldn't look confident, she once told me, adjusting a vase I'd already placed perfectly. It makes others uncomfortable. Victor was different. Not warm exactly, but observant. He noticed pauses. He noticed when rooms went quiet for the wrong reasons. Sometimes he'd thank me for something small, like refilling his tea without being asked, and it would throw me off for the rest of the day. Respect can be disorienting when you're not used to it. Their son Marcus noticed me too, but in a different way. The way people notice furniture they plan to replace. He talked freely around me about deals, about when Dad finally steps back, about how slow everything felt with old leadership. He assumed I wasn't listening. That was his first mistake. You learn things when people think you're invisible. Not secrets exactly, but intentions. Tone. Timing. The stuff people never write down. The night Victor collapsed, the house went feral. Doctors, phones ringing, Eleanor crying loudly in the hallway where everyone could see her. Marcus barking orders like the place already belonged to him. I rode in the ambulance because no one thought to tell me not to. I held Victor's hand while machines did what machines do. At one point, he squeezed my fingers and whispered, "If I disappear, tell the truth." I didn't know what that meant. I just nodded. After that, everything accelerated. Meetings happened without Victor. Papers appeared already signed. Marcus started staying late in the office, voice low, confident. Eleanor suddenly cared a lot about accounts she'd never touched before, and again, because they forgot I was there, I heard it. Once it's transferred, it won't matter. The will's outdated anyway. He won't notice, I told Victor. Not dramatically. Not accusing anyone. I just repeated what I'd heard word for word. He listened quietly, then thanked me like I'd handed him something precious. That should have scared me more than it did. A week later, Victor died. That's how the doctors announced it. That's how the papers printed it. The house filled with black suits and quiet smiles that came too easily. Grief was performed. Relief was whispered. And I was dismissed the next morning. One envelope. 1 week's pay. This is a family matter now. I packed my things and told myself it was over. The funeral was massive. Politicians, donors, cameras everywhere. The kind of event designed to turn a life into a headline. I almost didn't go, but something pulled me there, heavy and stubborn. I sat in the backhands, clenched heart racing like it was trying to warn me. The coffin looked wrong. I know how that sounds, but when you've spent years paying attention, you trust that instinct. Victor hated enclosed spaces, hated strong floral scents, and suddenly standing there watching them lower that box, I remembered his voice calm and certain. Tell the truth. When everyone bowed their heads, I stayed still. My chest burned, my ears rang, and then the words were out. He's not dead. Eleanor turned first. Her face went white, then tight. Remove her, she snapped loud enough for the cameras. Guards grabbed my arms. Someone called me sick. Someone else said grief does strange things. Eleanor leaned close and whispered, "You don't know who you're embarrassing." Then she slapped me, hard. That's when the lawyer stepped in. Not hers, his. Calm, unshaken. He told them to stop. He told them to open the coffin. People shouted. Eleanor screamed. Marcus swore. And then the lid lifted. Empty. The sound that followed wasn't cheering. It was confusion, rage, relief, fear. And then Victor walked out from behind the crowd, thinner, paler, very much alive. You want to talk about silence. That was silence. What came next spilled fast. Evidence, transfers, forged signatures, plans made while he lay in a hospital bed listening. Victor didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He just said, "I needed to know who you'd be when I wasn't powerful." Then he looked at me and nodded. The fallout was ugly. Arrests, trials, opinions flying in every direction. Some people called Victor brilliant. Others called him cruel. Me, I got called brave then, ungrateful then, opportunistic, depending on the day. Victor didn't go back to his old life. He downsized, rebuilt. He asked me what I wanted to do next. No one had ever asked me that before. I told him I didn't want to be silent anymore. So we built something new. A foundation focused on worker protection, transparency, dignity. Not flashy, not performative, real. I learned fast. I messed up. I spoke anyway. The trial ended the way the evidence demanded. Marcus went to prison. Eleanor lost everything she'd protected the lie for. The mansion was sold. The illusion collapsed. A year later, Victor and I visited the cemetery. No cameras, no speeches, just grass and quiet. He thanked me. I told him the truth doesn't belong to anyone, it just waits. People still argue about what was right. Was Victor wrong to fake his death? Was I wrong to speak up? Should silence ever be rewarded? I don't pretend to have clean answers. I just know this. Staying quiet nearly erased me. Speaking cost me safety, comfort, blood on my lip. It also gave me my voice. So here's my question to you. If you'd been there watching that coffin lower, knowing what you knew, feeling what I felt, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have stood up anyway, even if your voice shook? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue if you want. Stories like this don't end cleanly, they open conversations. And if you've ever seen truth buried because it made powerful people uncomfortable, share this video. Someone out there needs to know they're not crazy for feeling what they feel.